You are not stuck because the past is too powerful. You are stuck because a part of you is still waiting for yesterday to apologize. The wound happened once, but your mind has made you bleed from it 1,000 times. The heaviest prison is not made of stone. It is made of one memory you keep entering again and again, hoping that one day the ending will change. Look carefully at your life. How many times have you sat alone, not suffering because of what is happening today, but bleeding from something that has already finished? The person has left, the mistake has happened, the words were spoken, the door was closed, the season has passed, but inside your mind, you still stand there like a child in the rain, waiting for someone to come back and explain why they hurt you. And the painful truth is this: some answers will never arrive. Some apologies will never be spoken. Some people will sleep peacefully without ever understanding the storm they created inside you. And if your freedom depends on their awakening, then you have given the key of your life to a sleeping person. Today, I want you to listen not with the ears of the wounded person, but with the courage of the person who is ready to become free. Because leaving the past behind does not mean you pretend it did not happen. It means you stop allowing what happened to command what happens next. It means you stop bowing to the shadow of yesterday. It means you stop carrying a dead season into a living day. There is a difference between remembering and returning. The mind remembers. That is natural. But the heart returns. That is suffering. A memory may appear like a cloud passing across the sky, but you run after it, grab it, hold it, build a house inside it, and then wonder why your present feels dark. The cloud did not trap you. Your attachment trapped you. The past visits everyone, but only the untrained mind gives it a chair, serves it tea, and asks it to stay the night. You say, I cannot move on, but listen carefully. Often, it is not that you cannot move on. It is that a part of you does not want to move on, because moving on feels like admitting it is truly over. Moving on feels like letting them win. Moving on feels like abandoning the version of you that suffered. Moving on feels like saying the pain did not matter. But this is a misunderstanding. Your healing is not betrayal. Your peace is not defeat. Your smile is not disrespect to your wounds. Your future is not an insult to your past. The pain mattered. The lesson mattered. The broken version of you mattered. But you were not born to become a museum of old injuries. A wound must be respected, cleaned, and protected. But if you keep opening it every day to check whether it still hurts, do not call that loyalty. Call it self-punishment. Many people do this. They say, I am just thinking. No, you are reopening. They say, I am just trying to understand. No, you are circling the same fire and expecting not to burn. Understanding is useful only when it leads to wisdom. When understanding becomes addiction, it becomes another chain. Let me ask you something. How many times do you need to replay the same scene before you accept that the replay is not changing the scene, it is changing you? Every time you return to the same pain, you carve the path deeper inside your nervous system. You teach your body to live as if the danger is still happening. Then even on a peaceful morning, you wake up tired. Even around good people, you remain guarded. Even when life gives you a new opportunity, you hold it with old hands. You do not see the new door because your eyes are still fixed on the closed one. This is why discipline is needed. Not the discipline of becoming cold, not the discipline of pretending you are fine, the discipline of refusing to be dragged by every emotional wave, the discipline of telling your mind, I hear you, but I will not follow you into the same cave again. The discipline of returning to your breath when your memory tries to steal your body. The discipline of choosing one small action in the present instead of 1,000 thoughts about the past. You cannot think your way out of every pain. Some pain leaves only when you move differently. When you sit in the same place at the same hour, listening to the same sad song, checking the same phone, stalking the same memory, your mind believes the past is still your home. Change the body, change the pattern, stand up, walk, clean your room, drink water, train, work, write, pray, breathe. Do something simple with full attention. The present does not always arrive as a miracle. Sometimes the present arrives as washing one cup with complete awareness. Sometimes it arrives as putting your phone away for 10 minutes. Sometimes it arrives as walking under the sky and noticing that the world did not end when your heart broke. The past has a voice. It says, remember what happened. Wisdom also has a voice. It says, remember who you are becoming. The wounded mind asks, why did this happen to me? The awakened mind asks, what can this teach through me? The first question traps you in the role of victim. The second question turns pain into power. This does not mean you excuse cruelty. This does not mean you romanticize trauma. It means you refuse to let pain have the final word. There are people who hurt once and then carry that hurt into every room. They meet someone kind, but they punish them for someone else's mistake. They receive love, but they interrogate it like a criminal. They see opportunity, but fear whispers, last time you failed. They want peace, but they keep preparing for war. And slowly, the past does not just remain behind them. It becomes their personality. Their defense becomes their identity. Their bitterness becomes their language. Their fear becomes their decision maker. Do not allow this to happen to you. Pain may visit your house, but do not let it redesign the whole architecture. Fear may knock, but do not give it ownership papers. A betrayal may teach you boundaries, but it should not teach you hatred. A failure may teach you humility, but it should not teach you paralysis. A loss may teach you depth, but it should not teach you to stop loving life. To move on, you must first become honest about what you are still holding, not what you tell people, not the strong face, not the jokes, not the I do not care. Sit alone and ask yourself, what am I still waiting for? Are you waiting for an apology? Are you waiting for them to regret? Are you waiting for the past to become fair? Are you waiting for the old version of your life to return? Are you waiting to feel ready before you start again? This question is a sword. It cuts illusion, because much of your suffering comes from waiting at a station where no train is coming. Freedom begins when you stop waiting for yesterday to become kind. Yesterday may never become kind, but today can become honest. Today can become disciplined. Today can become sacred. Today can become the first day you stop feeding the story that is eating you. Many people say time heals. This is only half true. Time does not heal what you keep rehearsing. Time does not heal what you keep worshipping. Time does not heal what you keep using as an excuse to stay asleep. Time is a field. What you plant in it will grow. If you plant resentment every morning, do not expect peace in the evening. If you water regret every night, do not ask why joy does not bloom. Healing is not only the passing of days. Healing is what you practice while the days pass. So what must you practice? First, practice separation from the story, not from the lesson, from the story. The story says, I was abandoned, so I am not enough. The lesson says, I must stop abandoning myself. The story says, I failed, so I am weak. The lesson says, I now know where I must train. The story says, they betrayed me, so nobody can be trusted. The lesson says, I must learn discernment and boundaries. The story makes you smaller. The lesson makes you wiser. Whenever the memory appears, ask, am I holding the story or the lesson? If it makes you bitter, it is probably the story. If it makes you clear, it is probably the lesson. Second, practice removing the hooks. The past does not hold you with one rope. It holds you with many tiny hooks. A photo, a place, a message, a habit, a song, a repeated conversation, a fantasy of what could have been, a punishment you secretly believe you deserve. You cannot remove all hooks in one day, but you can remove one today. Delete one thing, stop checking one thing, change one routine, put one object away. Do not make a ceremony out of it. Do it calmly. You are not destroying your past. You are returning your energy to yourself. Third, practice forgiveness correctly. Many people misunderstand forgiveness. They think forgiveness means saying, what happened was okay. No. Some things were not okay. Some words were cruel. Some actions were selfish. Some absences were painful. Forgiveness means, I will not keep drinking poison to prove that you harmed me. Forgiveness is not always reconciliation. Forgiveness is not always trust. Forgiveness is not always access. Forgiveness is the release of your inner hostage. Sometimes the person you must forgive is someone else. Sometimes it is yourself. And forgiving yourself may be the hardest training of all. You say, I should have known, but you did not know. You say, I should have left earlier, but at that time you were learning. You say, I wasted years, but wisdom often grows in the soil of what we call waste. You say, I made a mistake. Yes. And now you must decide whether you will turn one mistake into a life sentence. A mistake is an event. Shame tries to make it an identity. Do not help shame. Do not sign its contract. Say, I did something wrong, if that is true. Say, I was naive, if that is true. Say, I ignored signs, if that is true. But do not say, I am broken forever. That is not truth. That is pain, speaking with confidence. When you carry guilt, you live with your head bowed, even when nobody is accusing you. You walk like you are waiting to be punished. You reject blessings because part of you believes you do not deserve them. But listen, guilt must become responsibility, or it becomes poison. Responsibility stands up and repairs what can be repaired. Poison sits down and repeats, I am bad, I am bad, I am bad. Responsibility changes behavior. Poison changes identity. Choose responsibility. There is a moment in healing when you must stop explaining yourself to the wound. The wound says, but remember how bad it was. You say, I remember, and I am still leaving. The wound says, but what if it happens again? You say, then I will meet it with more wisdom than before. The wound says, but you are not ready. You say, readiness is born on the path, not before the path. The wound says, stay here, it is familiar. You say, familiar suffering is still suffering. This is one of the deepest traps. People prefer familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. Because pain, even when it hurts, gives them a role. They know how to be the wounded one. They know how to complain. They know how to expect disappointment. They know how to survive in darkness. But peace asks something new. Peace asks you to stop dramatizing. Peace asks you to stop making pain the center of every conversation. Peace asks you to become responsible for your attention. Peace asks you to live without the identity that once got you sympathy. Peace is simple, but it is not always easy. Sometimes peace feels empty at first because chaos used to make you feel alive. Do not confuse intensity with love. Do not confuse anxiety with connection. Do not confuse obsession with loyalty. Do not confuse suffering with depth. Some of the past you miss was not love. It was chemistry mixed with insecurity. It was attachment mixed with fear. It was hope mixed with hunger. You were not always missing the person. Sometimes you were missing the version of yourself who believed everything could still become beautiful. Grieve that version. Honor that version. But do not drag that version like a body behind you. The young tree does not hate the seed because the seed cracked. The crack was necessary. The seed had to break for life to rise. In the same way, some parts of you had to break because they were too small for who you are becoming. Your illusion broke. Your dependency broke. Your fantasy broke. Your blind trust broke. But maybe your deeper vision was born there. Maybe your self-respect began there. Maybe your real path started at the place you thought was the end. This is why the past is not only an enemy. The past is a teacher. But a teacher becomes harmful when you refuse to leave the classroom. Learn the lesson, bow to the lesson, then walk out. Imagine a student who stays in the same class for 20 years because the teacher once taught something important. At some point, devotion becomes stagnation. The lesson was meant to prepare you for life, not replace your life. Ask yourself, what did this pain come to teach me? Not in a soft way, in a direct way. Did it teach you to stop ignoring your intuition? Did it teach you that love without self-respect becomes begging? Did it teach you that success without balance becomes sickness? Did it teach you that pleasing everyone is another form of self-abandonment? Did it teach you that you cannot save people who are committed to drowning? Did it teach you that your body speaks before your mind admits the truth? Did it teach you that silence can be wisdom, but silence can also be fear? Take the lesson, write it into your bones. Then stop repeating the exam. Some people say they want to move on, but they continue feeding the old identity. They tell the same story to every new person. They collect pity like coins. They post pain, hoping the right eyes will see it. They check whether the person noticed. They say they are healing, but their healing is still centered around the one who hurt them. Real healing is when your life becomes about your life again. Your food, your breath, your work, your discipline, your body, your faith, your family, your purpose, your sleep, your training, your mornings, your future. Not as revenge, not to prove anything, but because your life is worthy of your attention. There is a powerful moment when you stop saying, "Look what they did to me," and begin saying, "Look what I am building in spite of it." That moment is not loud. It may happen quietly. You may be sitting on the floor, tired of your own sadness. You may be walking at night. You may be looking at your reflection. And suddenly something inside you says, enough. Not with hatred, not with drama, with clarity. Enough abandoning myself. Enough reopening the wound. Enough waiting. Enough turning memories into masters. Enough calling chains love. Enough confusing pain with destiny. When that moment comes, do not waste it. Stand up. Make one physical movement that proves the decision. Clean your space. Block the contact, throw away the old note, open the book, put on your shoes, write the application, go to the gym, pray, meditate, apologize where needed, end what must be ended, begin what must be begun. Your mind respects action more than imagination. Every small action is a vote for the new life. Every repeated action becomes evidence, and one day, your nervous system will believe what your spirit already knows. You are safe to move forward. But understand this clearly. Moving on is not a single decision. It is 1,000 small decisions. You move on when you do not reply to the message that pulls you backward. You move on when you stop checking the profile. You move on when you refuse to turn one lonely night into a return to old chaos. You move on when you speak to yourself with respect after a mistake. You move on when you choose sleep over overthinking. You move on when you stop explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. You move on when you accept that closure is sometimes something you build, not something you receive. Closure is not always a conversation. Sometimes closure is realizing the conversation would only wound you again. Closure is not always hearing, I am sorry. Sometimes closure is admitting their behavior was the answer. Closure is not always knowing why. Sometimes closure is accepting that you know enough. You know how it made you feel. You know what it cost you. You know what you cannot continue. That is enough to walk away. The mind asks for more details because details create the illusion of control. But peace often begins with the courage to stop investigating the cage and simply leave it. There will be days when the past returns strongly. Do not panic. A wave returning does not mean the ocean is moving backward. Healing is not a straight line. Sometimes you will feel free for weeks, then one smell, one place, one sentence will bring tears to your eyes. This does not mean you failed. It means the body is releasing another layer. Meet it with tenderness, not punishment. Say, this is a wave. Breathe. Let it move. Do not build a temple around it. Do not text because of it. Do not make a permanent decision from a temporary storm. The untrained person believes every feeling must be obeyed. The trained person knows every feeling must be observed. Anger appears, observe it. Sadness appears, observe it. Longing appears, observe it. Shame appears, observe it. The watcher inside you is larger than the weather inside you. When you discover the watcher, you stop becoming every emotion that passes through. You can feel grief without becoming grief. You can feel fear without becoming fear. You can feel memory without becoming prisoner. Sit for a moment and notice your breath. The breath is always in the present. It does not breathe yesterday. It does not breathe tomorrow. It enters now. It leaves now. Every breath is proof that life is not finished with you. Your mind may travel to the past, but your breath refuses. Learn from the breath. Come back again and again. This is training, not escaping the mind, but returning from its unnecessary journeys. Some people are addicted to regret because regret gives them the fantasy of control. They think, if I keep thinking about what I should have done, maybe I can undo it. But regret cannot rewrite history. Regret can only drain the strength needed to write the next page. Reflection is different. Reflection asks, what happened? What did I learn? What will I do differently? Regret asks the same question forever and never moves. Reflection is a bridge. Regret is a swamp. Know the difference. The same is true for anger. Anger can be a messenger. It says a boundary was crossed. It says something mattered. It says you must protect your dignity. But if you keep anger longer than needed, the messenger becomes a dictator. It begins to speak for you, eat for you, sleep for you, choose for you. You become hard in places where you were meant to become strong. Hardness breaks. Strength bends and returns. Do not confuse them to leave the past behind. You must stop rehearsing arguments in your head. You know this habit. You imagine what you would say. You imagine how they would react. You finally win in the mind what you lost in life. For a moment, it feels satisfying, but then you are exhausted and nothing has changed. You have spent your life force in an imaginary court. The judge was you. The enemy was memory. The punishment was your own peace. Step out of the courtroom. Not every truth needs to be defended in front of people who benefited from misunderstanding it. Your energy is sacred. Treat it like fire. Fire can cook your food or burn your house. Attention is the same. Put your attention on discipline. Your life